Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Full Tilt Dynasty Podcast. I'm your host with the most time on his hands, Thomas Tipple. You can find me at Thomas Tipple FF, and I have never seen Godfather Part 2.
And I'm Tom Lee. You can find me at Tom_Lee, spelled LIE 92 on the Bird app. And this is the first time I've had the girlfriend in the room for the recording, so I may not have a relationship by the end of this podcast. We shall see.
Ew! Look, as I mentioned, this is the Fantasy Walkabout. Obviously, we're happy everyone can join us. Today, we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. We are naturally not a show that tends to hover around the topics of ADP and draft values and such, but it just so happens right now the League of Record is having our part 2 draft. So the Friday Night Lights League of Record is basically how the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast brand got started. And we've started a second league, and it is the only other league that will have all 5 members of the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. So today we're going to talk about how to apply our strategy in true value, which means Tom Lee and I are going to have very similar drafts, and we're going to be we should have just drafted as one unit,
one team,
right?
yeah,
Like if I actually would have thought this through, that's how we would have done it. But that's not what we're doing here today.
So
and obviously, Dave is here. I am most definitely here to fuck spiders. Well, guess what, Dave? It's Saturday for me. It's Sunday for Tom Lee. You are allowed to lounge about, mate, and just relax. Lord knows you deserve it. Also on the show today, we're going to talk about what to do with unrestricted free agents compared to hold or let go, depending on where their ranks currently fall. We're going to do a Yui and talk about some trades from last week. Tom Lee, you were not feeling well. Migraine got to one of the biggest and shout out to Chase Vernon for stepping in for the short edition. Huge shout out. The guy is just absolutely mint. The problem sometimes I don't get to talk to Tom Lee until about like an hour before we go on, because it is 5:30 in the morning.
Just ticked over 7, so we're doing okay.
Okay,
right.
so not bad, but it's early in the morning, so I don't really get to talk to Tom Lee until we go time. So he told me he wasn't feeling well. We had to pivot, but he's here today. And I think the other thing we're going to do is, casually just complain about how things are going for us in fantasy right now, because there are some ups and downs. I just drafted a kicker in a league that requires a kicker. It's been a wild morning, doing all sorts of different stuff. But of course, I want to start the information segment of the show by saying this morning I was gracious enough to have one of my favorite experiences behind a microphone, and it was joining the Even Odds podcast with Jacob and Billy. Recorded it this morning. It'll be out tomorrow. You owe it to yourself to check out that trivia-based podcast. It is just an amazing time, and one of my favorite times behind the mic. Poor Jacob woke up super hungover, Tom, and he was rough at 8:00 in the morning after a big foosball tournament the night before. I felt bad.
That's on him,
He still won.
Of course he did. Yeah.
He still won.
This is why we still employ him. This is the key. Yeah. The man rallies. He's got a bit of juice.
Putin rally. Classic Canuck. Look, we're going to start this thing off here with a little bit of Do We Care? It's undrafted free agent speculation time. Look,
that's all you hear about, right?
Right. I don't really care. So it's kind of funny that we're talking about it now, because on the hard yakka, we're going to go through it, but I don't really care about speculating where players are going to go. It's really easy when you're on the Bird app on the Twitter feed to get lost in where would Chris Godwin most benefit from? Where's Jimmy G going to play quarterback next year? I don't care about any of that yet. I don't think haven't heard rally in so long. Yeah, boot and rally, baby. Let's go. I don't really care about speculating where these guys are going to go. To me, there's very few players whose value jumps so high or drops so low on change of scenery. Obviously, Chris Godwin will. I'm not going to talk about him a lot now because we're going to talk to him a lot later. And guys,
Yeah.
is Devontae Adams staying? Is Aaron Rodgers going to leave Green Bay? I don't care about that until it happens, because speculating is going to drive yourself nuts, and you're going to overreact, and you're going to do a trade that you shouldn't do, et cetera, et cetera. So, Tom Lee, I don't personally care. How do you feel about this? And is it just because it's content season?
It's the biggest waste of time. It is. We're people looking for content. We haven't got any more information on rookies. Like, that'll all come up across the next few months, and that's an exciting time for dynasty players. But realistically, right now, it's just like, oh, let's just throw some names out there. Like you said, where is Aaron Rodgers going? Is he staying? Is he not? Who cares? Like, the NFL is going to tell you by where he ends up what they think. And I think that's the biggest thing. Is it's just ever at the moment. It's overhyping. It's trying to create drama within leagues. So, I mean, if you can capitalize on it, sure. But as we'll talk about later on, there's a general way to deal with these free agents, just to try and calm the nerves with the dynasty strategy. So we'll see.
Yeah, man. And it's oh yeah, Dave got it right. Where'd it go? Speculation season. That's exactly right. That's what it is. So I don't really care all that much about it. It's fun to talk about. It's fun to hit the DMs and try to use it in your trade negotiations, because you should always be bullshitting. Like I said, we're going to talk about that later. Look, if you missed the special bonus edition episode of Mob Ties Part 2 featuring Anthony Carenti, my Paisan brethren over there, look, you missed a little commercial, or I guess ad. Here's a little preview of who we got coming up in March. And when we come back, we're going to punish a tallie, right? Did I get it right that time?
Don't polish it. That's it. Punish it. Crack it. Punish it.
Right. You don't want to polish a tallie. That's right.
That's a whole different thing. We might get to that later.
That's a weird, oh my gosh. I'm going to hit this button and move on before I dig myself a bigger hole. I'm Thomas Tipple of the Full Tilt Dynasty Podcast.
And I'm Steven Johnson with ShyCitySports.com, and I'll be on the Full Tilt Dynasty Podcast March 3rd.
Steven's going to make sure to take the time to let everyone know that he feels that Mitch Trubisky will go down as the greatest Chicago Bears quarterback of all time.
If he wasn't sabotaged by the coaching staff, that could have happened.
Say less. I just want to point out that Steven does not think that Trubisky is actually the greatest, will go down as the greatest quarterback. I was trying to throw him off his guard, and the man is just iron. He's heard it all. So we have Steven Johnson coming on March 3rd to do some Bears talk. And what I don't have a video for is that Troy King of Yahoo and Thirsty Thursday fame will be joining us on Tuesday night, our regular time. So it's not a bonus episode. So we'll have to be on the top of our game. But Troy is joining us Tuesday night. I'll have those links posted after the show. It is guest season for us. We're going to punish, not polish. We're going to punish a tallie. And look, Tom Lee, why don't you explain to the people that may be new here what punish a tallie may be?
So, I mean, you said it last time. So a tallie, I think you said, is a tall beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, we
call it a tall boy.
Yeah, tall boy. Tall boy over here is actually a chest of drawers that you keep your clothes in.
That's so weird.
There you go. But yeah, to punish a tallie, I mean, to crack a tallie, take the top off one, crack into a long beer, have a bit of a yarn, have a bit of a chat. Got some dynasty-related stuff. And today we're going to look at perceived rises and sliders in value. It's the end of the season. Like we said, it's narrative season. People are trying to move and trade, and that's a lot of what our process is about. But to me, I mean, like, we're going to look at 5 players and just sort of see what the vibe is, what we've seen. We're going to mention it before, as Tom mentioned before. We're going to look at some startup stuff, and it gets into draft season all too quickly. So we'll look at a few different elements in there and just have a good yarn about it all.
Yeah, man. Can't wait to vibe on it. And look, I know we always hound. We don't, as I mentioned before, I'm just going to say it again. Just because we don't talk about ADP specifically because there's so much content about it doesn't mean it doesn't apply to your leagues that have not been standing for years, because you should be looking to go and scout out where the players' value are now. Look, I fought against Keep Trade Cut. I fought against ADP metrics. I fought against people's rankings, and then I joined the Bulletproof Discord, and I realized how fucking far behind the 8 ball I was sitting because I was being stubborn. These things do help. I was able to use keep trade cuts values to go and acquire more Marquise Brown, who was sitting at wide receiver 31 the last time I checked, which is hilarious value on him. And I also used it to trade away Jaylen Waddle for a big bag, in my opinion. Anyway, and Dave's right here. Hashtag true value. Dave also said that I can't talk about that episode for fear of my life. That's right. Tight lip. Right? Loose lips sink ships, and it also gets people whacked. So we don't want to do that. Tom Lee, biggest risers and fallers. I mean, you have here with Russell Wilson on a tiny slide from QB 10 to QB 12. I will admit I have never wanted to roster Russell Wilson. He is the king of 5-game stretches and then dying. It's just not the type of player that I like. He like has this perception that he like rushes a bit, but I think that's a little bit overblown as well. He has 2 great weapons, but he himself never really sustained success season long. What do you think is the real reason for the drop? How are you applying it? Is this enough to make you bite on the now early 30s, 32, 33-year-old quarterback in Seattle?
33. Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is all perceived sliders. So these are guys you'll hear are falling, quote unquote, in drafts, and that's where we use ADP. You know, it's like, well, this is what we're hearing. This is what we're hearing about in our established leagues. Is it actually happening? You know, let's go and have a check at it. Let's go and have a look at it. And it's not really the biggest slide from December till now. You know, February might reflect something different, but a lot of these younger QBs are starting to get pushed up quite high in drafts. And you know, we'll talk a little bit about drafts later on. You know, is there value there? Could you trade for him? What's the public perception like? I think there is an element where you could acquire Wilson, but like you said, we don't necessarily like that type of quarterback. You know, I don't mind it as a quarterback too, but I don't want it as my quarterback 1 because their ceiling just isn't there with the Herberts, the Mahomes. These guys, they're putting up big numbers. You either need 2 lots of floor to try and match that, and then your other pieces compensate for the rest of it. But to have Russell Wilson put up 3 points because he turned it over twice and it's cold and they ran the ball and they still got the win, but it's just not a great way to go about it. So for him to have always been a top 10 quarterback was always interesting to me because I don't like that type of player. But to his credit, he's always finished the season well. So it's one of those things you look at the end of the season, where's he ranked? Okay, top 5, top 10 quarterback. But if you have him in your team, he's one of those guys a bit like some of his assets in Lockett and Metcalf. You don't love having him week to week. So yes, there's possibly an opportunity to buy, but not for us.
See, and this is what's crazy is his finishes. This goes 6-point touchdown, 6 points per touchdown league. 16, 6, 3, 9, 1, 9, 3, 3, 8, and 11. We should be falling all over him, but he still feels so gross as a fantasy asset to me because he just has stretches, and I'm looking at 2021, but like he beat the brakes off the door, right? 31 points, 33 points, 36 points. Oh my God. And then 20, 24, 29, 28. Oh my God.
Still good.
And then he went to 22, 9, 20, 14, 15, 22, 12, 19, 18. Good, not great. And I think part of that is because of the receivers that he has. And I mean, obviously he hasn't always had Lockett and he hasn't always had Metcalf, but in recent years, the boom games really carry him over the top for the final overall, which is why I don't love points per game as a base metric, but points per game is still a valuable metric to use.
Points in your team is the metric.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so that was the thing, right? So we looked at, well, perceptively he's sliding, but what I was seeing, and I sort of polled through Dynasty League Football, DLF, some of their trade finder stuff, and then a lot of the trades I was seeing was actually people sliding back from Wilson to a lower quarterback. So we'll look at one of that later on, have a bit of a chat about that. But that's a difference in perception of what I thought would have happened. I would have thought his value slid, people looking to acquire him. It's kind of the opposite. They're trying to get rid of him just before it hits the floor. So, an interesting asset.
The next player I want to talk about is a player that this interests me a lot because he hasn't moved. Nope. So there's no real perceived risers or fallers based on his positional ADP and his ranking and such. But Ryan Tannehill kind of getting a big, giant dump truck of turd dumped all over him.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm willing to acquire. If you were as in on Tannehill last year, you should be just as in on him this year because as it looks like Julio Jones is back. Maybe his hamstrings will actually work. AJ Brown will hopefully not miss as much time, and they'll have Derrick Henry. So a good football team, same coaching staff for the most part, same players. Why are you less hyped on Tannehill this year as you were last year? Because if I am not mistaken, I'm going to try to quickly look this up right now and keep talking, as it is a skill of mine. Why would you just be out on him? So last year, Ryan, the last couple of years, Tannehill, QB 20. Last year, QB 15, I guess almost 16. And this year, it's 21 on his ADP up to now. I don't understand why he is slid at all. But all that means is that he is a value. So to answer the question, I guess he is a true value to me because I believe he is a better quarterback than his QB 21 ADP.
Yeah, he is the quarterback too that you want because it's so affordable. You know the consistency's there, and you know there's upside because there are those big games where AJB goes off, or even if Henry's scoring, he's still racking up points as it goes along. So I was kind of surprised. I mean, just even looking at the value, like I said, QB 19, QB 21, that's deep in this order, and I think a lot of it is that these younger QBs are starting to get pushed up. They're a little bit more sexy, a little more hyped. 2 years ago, people were sending 2 firsts for Ryan Tannehill to try and pick up this guy because they know what he can do.
What are you sending for him right now?
First, I mean, if I get him for a first, because right now we look like one of the narratives is you should go buy Baker Mayfield, right? And this is the point of contention. We don't love this guy because I don't think he's a quarterback too.
I don't even want to talk about Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about him. But if you're going to go there and buy that, why not have a look at Tannehill? Seems more affordable. People aren't really in love with him as an asset. They're happy to move him. He's more flexible. You could send one of these younger guys who you don't think has a ceiling for Tannehill and a piece.
I would trade Baker Mayfield for Ryan Tannehill. If you could trade Baker Mayfield and a late to mid 2 for Tannehill, I would send that because I actually think Tannehill will help me win games. Where I think Baker Mayfield will do everything in his power to help the other team win games. And that's I know, Tom, you're biased you're biased against Baker Mayfield. Well, I'm sorry. After 4 years, you can figure it out. He is what he is. All right, and it's fine. But what are they gonna do? Who are they gonna bring in? It looks like Jarvis Landry is gonna be out the door. He wants out. OBJ you forced him away. He went and won a Super Bowl. What are you gonna do? You're gonna roll out Donovan Peoples-Jones? Oh my God, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Right? And then who else? You're going to draft someone? Okay.
Sure.
Fine. But what are the chances?
Nothing's going to change. Yeah.
What are the chances that you draft 2 receivers and all of a sudden Baker Mayfield turns into a top 12 points per game? Not. So go and get Tannehill, who you already know, who already has superstars. I will tell you how I feel about Baker Mayfield, Dave. I'm tired of it. Be realistic.
So Tom goes to me before the show. This one's not going to run for an hour. As soon as I mention the name, well, there goes 5 minutes.
I'm going to go for an hour just on the stupidity. How do you look at what happened in the playoffs? How do you look at what happened in the playoffs and look at the QB talent in those games, Ben Roethlisberger notwithstanding, and go, fuck it, pay him $42 million a year. Where does that maybe when getting Baker is a good idea because he's going to be a value because there's no fucking way they pay him that. I just don't. He's led the league in interceptions since coming into the league. He has had stretches of 2 years, and they weren't even back-to-back years where he showed out. I don't get it. If it's the weapons, if it's the team, if it's the coaching, he's one of those guys. Just go and use him and go and get Tannehill and take 2 years of production. That'll actually help you win something and then pivot later.
Spot on. Yeah.
Before I blow another gasket about Baker Mayfield. Tyreek Hill. Let's talk about Tyreek Hill because I think he is continuously slandered. People look at Tyreek Hill, I guess, like he's 35 years old and that he's gonna lose it. He could just fall off a cliff at any time. Look, he's ranked on Keep Trade Cut as the wide receiver 8, but his ADP doesn't show that. His ADP, and this is crazy. Since 2020, he's never been drafted above 10 on average. Yeah, 10.6, 10.1, and then this year is the 10th wide receiver. And all you're getting from Tyreek Hill is unbelievable week in and week out production. League winning weeks. Like number 4, number 2, 31. He was hurt. Number 1, number 8, and he's attached to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Why is Tyreek Hill constantly the wide receiver 10 in ADP? How does this happen?
Yeah, this is what I was surprised by, because the narrative here isn't that Tyreek Hill's sliding; it's that he's sort of becoming the forgotten guy. He's like I said, the younger guys are sexy. We're pushing them up above, but this guy's producing year in, year out. Yes, the last 2 years have been slightly different. One was a ceiling year, one was a floor year, but they're still good pieces for your team. Just because his role in your team changes slightly based on what his production was, doesn't mean that he's still not a league-winning piece. So if there is an opportunity, and we're going to look at a few trades later on, whether you're acquiring or whether you're selling, right now he seems like this forgotten guy who's just sliding down the wide receiver rankings, becoming perfectly placed to pick up both a combination of enough youth, enough security with job and production, and just seems like the perfect piece that if you can flip one of these younger guys you're not so sure about for him, you'll be laughing your way to the bank and a couple of premierships.
100%. Like, look, he had a 25% target share, lower than Hollywood Brown's. He had 159 targets, which is only 19 more than Hollywood Brown. He was 3rd in the league in receptions. He's 3rd in the league in air yards. He's like 8 in completed air yards. The guy doesn't go. And I know the cover 2 shell, it had him catching a lot of short ball. Who cares if he PPRs his way to 10 receptions for 80 yards and a touch? Who cares? The guy's in elite talent. And if he's slowing down, he's going to be 28. He's slowing down. Go and watch how he embarrassed the Bills.
So he's
4 guys had the angle.
Receiver.
Yeah. And he's not even. 4 guys had the chance to tackle Tyreek Hill in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And he just zoomed past him, gave him the deuce, didn't get fined for it for some reason, because that's how it works. And that was it. Just absolutely crazy. Tyreek Hill, you guys are slipping. I'll take him above the 10th receiver every single time. Look, let's go Jaylen Waddle. He's part of the new hotness. He's
part of the reason this value is happening for Tyreek.
Yeah, well, people think that Jaylen Waddle's the next Tyreek. I mean, trade cut has him ranked as the wide receiver 6. So if you're keeping score, that's 2 points ahead of Mr. Tyreek Hill. And for Jaylen Waddle, like this year, he's being drafted as the wide receiver 15, it looks like, off the board. So that's mid-3rd round, semi-late in the 3rd round. I'll take that, but that's near Tyreek Hill is insane to me. Yeah. I would use the hype of, say, keep trade cut. This is where a situation where looking at ADPs and values, and I would be using Waddle to go and get Tyreek Hill. 100%. Because you'll be lucky to find a Tyreek Hill type season in Jaylen Waddle, I feel like.
Because you got this combination of youth, production. Like, he did produce this year and he had a really good year. He's an exciting player to watch. He's a fun player to watch. But, whether it's keep trade cut or whether it's, his ADP on DLF has gone from 13 to wide receiver 8. So there's that jump. Like, you're seeing it. And that's just into January, not into Feb yet. So this hype keeps coming out. The narrative from the coach, Mike McDaniel, has now push and saying, this is the next Debo. Yeah, this is the next Debo. This is what people want to hear. They want to hear feeding high levels of production. But they're different types of players. Jaylen Waddle is a fantastic player, but if I'm choosing between a quarterback who's Tua, who I like, but he's nowhere near Patrick Mahomes and what that offense can do. Like, a boom week for Jaylen might be 27 points. Hill will end it with a 50-point game. Like, that is just the comparison. So if you want ceiling, whilst they're both still good assets, I know which one is more value and I know which one I want right now, because it's just more secure. I know it. I've seen it for the last 3-4 years. We know what it is. So he's just one of those guys that it's quite a shame, because he was drafted late in rookie drafts, and now he's just become hyped, and it's almost pushed him to the point where you can't really acquire him.
It's impossible. It's multiple first territory for Waddle for sure. Trey Lance is going to be the next one. You said from the draft to now it's QB 12 to 9. That's I know it's too rich moved, for your blood, more. But let's talk about that, because obviously I am out here drafting Trey Lance at the 2.2. For me, because he's just the GOAT. Oh, I screwed that up. Sorry, Jaylen Waddle's being drafted as the 8th receiver off the board, so 2 ahead of Tyreek Hill. I just screwed that whole.
You had the numbers right. The 2 ahead was right.
Yeah, the 2 ahead, but I messed that up. That Bills game never happened. All right.
Sure.
All right. But look, Trey Lance it was being drafted 12.5 last year, and now he's being drafted as the QB9. To put that
Yeah.
into perspective, Russell Wilson QB 12, Ryan Tannehill 21, and then there's Trey Lance, right, number 9. So,
Yeah.
Too high for you, obviously.
Not too high. It's just a guy who, and we know, like my approach and our approach in the show is all value. We see a guy rising who hasn't necessarily done it yet. He could and will probably be a top 3 quarterback long term. That team, his talent, if he fulfills it all, he is an amazing guy. So if you're in a startup draft, it's kind of different. I don't mind taking him because that's the only way you're going to acquire him. My issue is going and buying him because even though his ADP might be 9, his perceived value is not. So if you've got him and you can sell him to one of those guys who just loves him, there is an opportunity to acquire value.
I traded him away last year. I feel so sad about it.
And it's tough because this may not be the peak because we haven't seen anything yet. So it's very hard to say that this is where he's at right now. He will still keep rising. So
do you want to hear something crazy? I would
go.
trade Lamar Jackson for Trey Lance and a plus. I would do that.
Yeah.
I don't see a world where guys like Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson did well with what they had, and Trey Lance doesn't, just given his rushing ability and the team around him and the coaching staff. I don't see a world where he doesn't perform as a top 12 quarterback if he plays every game. I just don't see it. I don't see it being possible. Maybe he's a colossal failure, but sometimes you got to pull the trigger and take.
Yeah, I mean, the support network around him suggests that it's going to be pretty difficult for him to bust. Whether it's Shanahan planning for him and changing the offense a little bit, whether it's making the most out of him running, learning to protect himself more, he is going to be a very good quarterback. We know this. What he can be, we don't know.
For fantasy, at least.
But it's just one of those things that if you're looking and you love him and you want to go buy him, man, it's going to cost you a hell of a lot where you could have better value somewhere else.
Yeah, if you don't draft him, you might be toast. Look, we're going to take a second. When we come back, we're going to do a Yui, and we are going to discuss trades that happened. If you missed Thursday's episode, here's a little bit of a sneak peek, and when we come back from the sneak peek, we're gonna do a Yui. Which player do you feel is most likely to bring you in real close and then stab you with that ice pick right in the back? I want to go Anthony. What you got?
I'm so nervous to fire off like another, Austin Eckler's gonna stink take, but it's a little bit for me. It's a little bit Deebo Samuel. It's a little bit that guy, and I love Deebo Samuel, but I feel like I'm uncomfortable with just the range of swings, like over the last 2 seasons or season and a half, whatever. Like I love the player that he is. And I think like Deebo needs to stay healthy is kind of a straw man argument. Like I don't really totally buy into that. But I just wonder, like this year was outlier good.
That's a bit of the conversation we had over on Mob Ties Part 2, which you can go check out either on our YouTube network or as you see in the top left here, the Dynasty Vipers YouTube network, where we were just talking about which players are going to be more likely to give you the old Italian handshake, bring you in, nice pick you, and take you out. Look, we're going to do a Yui here, Tom Lee, and we're going to look at some trades that have happened and how we feel about it. Obviously, I think this one got Chase and I talked about this in the last show, and he seemed vigorously confused.
He did. Yeah.
It was so Deontay Johnson, Ramondre Stevenson for Cordero Patterson, Chris Godwin, and Michael Gallup. So the broken knees club for the overrated running back and Deontay Dropson. I know I'm taking Dejo and I'm taking Ramondre, and this is pretty easy. Twitter agreed 65% Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
There's not a lot to talk about this for me, but
no. But the whole idea of these first two is it's sort of what you guys discussed last week, and Chase did a fantastic job. So if you missed that episode, go back and check it out. Just a man who knows how to articulate what he's thinking, beard game's on point, all the things you want in a fill-in for your space. You can improve my beard game a little bit. That's all right. I mean, whether it's the Dejo, the Ramondre side, or the CPAT side, the Godwin side, it really just comes down to me to who you value more between Deontay Johnson and Chris Godwin, because the other pieces here I can take or leave. For me, they're back to back. So the one's healthy, one's got an ACL, like you said. So if it's Deontay Johnson's healthy,
It's
even
too
without a
bad.
quarterback.
I just don't understand how there's. I don't mean to cut you off, but like
No,
I
you're
just
good.
got I just got this thought here. It's two guys who are free agents who blew their ACLs late, and then Cordero Patterson who disappeared on your fantasy teams. I don't understand how how this wasn't 100% to me. Blows my mind. But when talking about Chris Godwin's current rank, I mean, it kind of makes sense. But this is asinine to me. That there's wasn't like at least 80% Deontay Johnson.
I thought it'd be higher. Yeah, for sure.
65% is way too low, but I think it just shows. The staying power for Michael Gallup even too.
Yeah.
Because as you know, Maddie, full tilt underscore MATTY, smart man, is obsessed with Michael Gallup and convinced he could have been a number one on a team. That he's an absolute stud. But I think even pre-ACL, I would have taken Deontay over Godwin straight up. And as Dave has over here, exactly, Deontay versus Godwin, give me Deontay. But he likes Godwin too, and it's fine to like Godwin, but again, we're going to talk more about God. This is just going to be the Godwin episode, I think, because we're going to talk about him. But anything else to add to this trade? I don't think so. I think this is pretty easy. You're using two injured guy and a potential 30-year-old free agent combo receiver running back for a superstar receiver and a guy who could be good in a year or two. So, this next one is very interesting because we were wondering what the limit is in acquiring Cooper Kupp. Obviously the GOAT, I think he's 29 or will be 29. He was our poster boy for this brand when we started it. Getting him in round 7 for what could have been and what ended up being what it was over 20. Someone did the numbers. It was 2,300 yards, 140 receptions or something just stupid through the playoffs. It was something crazy, and you got him in the 6th and 7th round. He's the definition of true value. You get him in the 6th or 7th when really he had a guaranteed pathway to a wide receiver 1 season. And again, I'm going to keep saying that he was my pick to be wide receiver 1 out of the favorites. So I traded Lamb for Kupp in the 208. I'll do that all day, especially if you're trying to win, baby. That's what I'm talking about. You're getting a draft pick and another stud. I don't know if Lamb's ever going to have that high end ceiling that we hoped. I agree. I like that trade, Dave. 100%. I would do that. Yeah. This one was Cooper Kupp or the 101. I think this is a statement to how this draft is, because I think if you would have asked this question last year, even with the season that he had, right, the wide receiver 1 from last year for the 101 was kind of right where the value was, I feel like. Now this year, this draft is being shit on so hard. You can acquire a guy like Cooper Kupp. You can get look. Twitter went 73% Cooper Kupp. I got to tell you, I'm right on the fence, but I'm taking Cooper Kupp still. If I have Cooper Kupp, I'm not trading him just for the 101.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. You kind of know what you're getting with Kupp. The 101,
just
regardless
for the people.
What happens with drafts,
just for the people. What would it take? Let's say draft pick value. What would it take for you to do this swap? 101 plus 106.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love Kupp, but
101 plus 110.
Closer. 2 firsts, including a 101. I'm thinking as well. You look at the 101. What can you do with this pick? We know picks increase in price. It's not just a linear asset. You don't have to take the pick. You can flip this for more assets. So,
but what are you flipping? What are you that's the problem though. If you're trading the 101 to get Cooper Kupp and have to add on to the 101, that 101's value has now been set. So it's not like you can take it and flip it, because who are you flipping it better than Cooper Kupp unless somebody's desperate? And that's the problem. The way we always look at it, right? Oh, you get the 101, it's fluent. Well, the problem is if you're trading it for such a sustained asset, what are you going to add to your team that's just that much better unless you're diversifying even more? I just don't. See, that's where it's tough. I think for me, I think it's 101 and 105, and I think I would move them, and I'd be okay with that, because that's what that's like Burks and Spiller, Burks and Hall, right? That's kind of how I feel about it. So
or a quarterback and a wide receiver, that's really what you're looking at.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and like I said, Twitter agreed. We're gonna go Russell Wilson or Trevor Lawrence and 112.
Yeah, so I mean, this is what we said before, right? So we're talking about Russell Wilson. We thought there was perceived value slide, and then people are trying to still trade back from him for an even further undervalued asset in Trevor Lawrence. So, would you do Russell Wilson for Trevor Lawrence in the 112? I would. I think we've seen 3 of these in the last month pop up on DFL's Trade Finder. The same exact move. Whether it's 112, whether it's 110, 111, it's the same construct. Russ for Trevor Lawrence. I mean, we haven't seen a lot from Lawrence. I'm a little worried, but
God, he was bad.
Haven't seen anything. Yeah, what we have seen is him under a lot of pressure, and I probably also thrown the ball away a lot.
It's the yeeting the ball right into triple coverage. Maybe it was just like a gimmick to get Urban Meyer fired, but like
it's his strategy.
Seeing one receiver and that receiver being like Laquan Treadwell around 3 defenders and going yay to that possession, like maybe he just didn't want to be on the field. It's
almost like in his head he knows he should be that good to hit the target within the 3, but nothing else around him says you can do that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like if Burrow's sliding that into Chase, we don't question it. Right?
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
And T-Law is looking across the table going, man, I was drafted 101. Like,
great point. I knew the yeet alert was coming.
Chenault,
I knew the yeet alert was coming. I'm bringing it back. Dave, just for you, buddy. For me, this trade is one of the ones where I might actually take Russ. It sounds asinine to say, but I think in this case I'm taking Russ.
I think
because I hate being in perpetual rebuilds. So if Lawrence is quite possibly my third quarterback, I'm going to trade him for that and that pick for Russ, and then package either Russ or one of my other quarterbacks, and I'm going to go and get an even better asset. Now, second part of this question, does 201 change it for me? It doesn't. I don't think there's a huge. I think you can look at 201 like a first round pick for the most part. So no, it doesn't change it for me. The next one, we're going to talk about this guy again. It's Tyreek Hill, and it's Tyreek Hill or 22 first. Is there a pick that you do for Tyreek Hill straight up? There's not a fucking chance. If I'm not moving the 101 or Cooper Kupp for the 101, there's a 0% chance you're getting Tyreek Hill off my roster.
So flip that script. If you're acquiring Tyreek Hill, you'd send any first for Tyreek.
You can have a 23. I wouldn't give a shit. I would easily be willing. Yeah. I'd be easily willing to move 2 1s. And that's what's crazy about his perception is that for some reason, Tyreek Hill is actually acquirable right now. It's crazy to me that that's possible. Like, I don't understand.
He's like the Dr. Dre. Don't forget about Tyreek Hill. Like this is
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And he is with AJ Brown and DK Metcalf and Jaylen Waddle and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. I would take him over all of those guys not named Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. He should be the wide receiver 3 off the board, and I don't think it should be particularly close. Yeah, I said it, but I don't get it. I've been saying this for more than just the last couple of weeks. I've been saying this for 2 years now. He should be the 3rd wide receiver off the board. Age, offense, quarterback, contract, ability. I don't understand it. Reek is hella undervalued as per Dave.
Well, because this is the thing, right?
And you got an elite reference.
First.
I like it.
Yeah. The Tyreek for a 22 first. We've seen 3 of them again on Trade Finder. Like it's happening quite frequently.
Oh my God, it's too many.
Yeah.
Too many.
This is in January.
Stop it.
This is happening. So
stop it.
Yeah, and I think it makes it interesting when it brings us to the next one because, like you said before, you'd move Waddle for Tyreek, but we've also seen a couple where Waddle's been moved for a couple of firsts.
I see this here. We're gonna move on to the next one, like you just mentioned. Jaylen Waddle or the 110 and a 23 first.
Yeah,
this is tough, but I gotta go Waddle. I'll take Waddle here.
Okay.
I would take Waddle here, and I would take Waddle here. And then, well, what if the 23 first is late or early? You don't know. Yeah. Okay, you don't know how late or early that first is gonna be. Now, shout out to my man Brad or Hendo 33 because we know when his team is going to be top 3 in 2023 in the home league. So shout out to him. He's toughing out the rebuild. There are cases where a team is just destined to be bad.
Yeah.
But it's not just generally the case where you can predict, I'm going to have the 105 at least in 20. You don't know. So I'm taking Jaylen Waddle because the 110, you're just praying you get a player like Jaylen Waddle. in his situation, and same with the 23 first. I think I'm taking Jaylen Waddle here, which is kind of crazy, but look at it in startup value. Okay, this is one of the ones where I'll look at it in startup value, because if you have to draft Jaylen Waddle at 3.3, are you trading a 23 first and let's say a 10th round or 9th round startup pick? I guess let's give it a little bit benefit of the doubt. 7th round startup pick.
Yeah, 7th.
In to move into the 3rd round. I'm not.
For a 4-round jump, probably not. Yeah.
I'm not doing that. So I'm taking the Waddle man 100%.
This one's a tight one. This is more of a fence sit for me than the earlier one you talked about. I'm probably taking the picks.
Weird. Oh,
yeah, and
crazy.
It's not because I don't like Jaylen Waddle. I mean, I know there's a lot of people really, really into the 23 first class, and there should be. Yeah. Like, it's a very good class, but for what I can get for that pick, like if I can throw that for and a little bit on top to get like a J.K. Dobbins, now we're talking 110 and J.K. Dobbins, like these are the sort of things that'll run through my head going, what can I do with that? But I can't sell Jaylen Waddle away for, Dobbins plus. You know what I mean? The first sound like multiple assets, they sound a bit sexier. The value is probably about the same. Or if anything, like you said, the value is probably Jaylen Waddle. But for what you can do with 2 firsts right now, it's just having a couple of extra guns in your pocket. You've got a lot of options and a lot of variability. So I don't know, but it's a tight one. But I probably in the picks at the moment.
Well, you're also. I'll say this. You also are the master of stringing out your value of pieces that you have.
Yeah,
it drives me insane, but you get it done all the time. So
too often.
Yeah, shout out to you. Look, that's doing a Yui. We're gonna do the hard yakka and get out of here. We got roughly about 20 minutes left to go, so sit tight. We're gonna take I think this one should only be about a 20-second break, 25-second break. This is again from Thursday's episode of Mob Ties Part 2. Sit tight. We're gonna come back, and we're gonna get into the hard yakka. All right? I love this from Dave. Tony Crenti's mob name would be Pretty Boy Tony. Hey, I actually don't mind that one. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that one. So again, that was Mob Ties Part 2. It's your mob name is way more important. Hey, Dave's still in our chat here because he's a superstar. Hey, that's right. I got you in it. Right? Lucas clipped that out perfect. He got you in there. So respect to you. Yep. The mob name is so important because if you have a bad nickname, no one's going to take you seriously. Did you know that Scarface, right? He actually wanted, I think, what was it? Dorky, Snort. Oh my God. I think it was Snorky is, I think, Snorky. Apparently, allegedly what he wanted to be called because his brain went crazy because he had syphilis and it was in his brain. It rotted it away, whatever. Man. Could you imagine the most badass gangster, like known really?
Hey, I'm Snorky.
Not being called Scarface, but Snorky. Like, it matters. So Pretty Boy Tone, like, that was good. That was good. So shout out. Look, we're going to do some hard yakka. Big name, unrestricted free agents and what the fuck you're supposed to do with them. For the most part, I want to preface this. Actually, you know what, Tom Lee, I'll let you start because I think my point is pretty broad. So I'll let you start, see what insight you got, and then I'm going to give my very blanket statement because that's what I do.
Yeah, and I like your blanket statement because what happens is, whilst there's a lot of narrative right now, these names keep popping up as points of interest, right? So whether or not they are actually movable, they're not like the assets we talked about before that have perceived value changes. That's a point of interest for us for sure. Free agency is just one of those times of year where speculation and narrative can run wild. So in theory, these players are being talked about a bit more than they probably would have otherwise been. And in particular, one of them, which you'll raise in a second. But the 5 guys, like, let's roll through the 5 guys. I'll just do it quick. So Devontae Adams, Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, Mike Williams, and Cordero Patterson. 5, not necessarily all big name UFAs, but they keep popping up. And they keep popping up through, whether it's Twitter or whether it's through leagues. People want the value for these guys, but no one's really willing to invest in someone they don't know are going to be next year. So to your point, which I think is where you're headed, your strategy is always to hold. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, you're holding these guys, right? And I'm going to talk about the one exception to the rule, but there's a lot of speculation where you could go, Aaron Rodgers is going to go to Denver, acquire Jerry Jeudy, and then at
Yeah.
the end of the day, you get, I don't know, Jimmy Garoppolo, and you've now just traded a boatload for Jerry Jeudy, and you want to yeet yourself into the sun. So, because Jerry Jeudy sucks. But like, you can speculate all you want. Where does Devontae Adams go? Sell Devontae Adams. He's 29 and he's a free agent. You don't got to do that. Just wait. Let the pieces fall. Now, if you get a haul for it, sweet, go and do that.
Yeah.
But unless you're really worried, like Mike Williams, you should have traded Mike Williams already. Because if you're worried about where Mike Williams goes, there was nowhere better for him than where he was.
Yeah.
So you should have traded him when he was popping off at first round draft pick value, which was insane to me. I've talked about that numerous times on this show. Mike Williams is not the answer. You should have done it then. And if you didn't and you held, why move him now when his value was plummeted down to wide receiver, 30?
35.
What do you got? 35.
Yeah.
Crazy to me.
Yeah, like your best case scenario is he lands somewhere like KC and you still go.
But that's not good for him. KC has never helped your wide receiver. The Chargers are the best spot for Mike Williams.
Yeah, so it brings interest to the guy. We're like, well, maybe then I could flip him. But like you said, until then, you're just holding and hoping.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to. There's the only exception to this rule is Chris Godwin for me on this list.
Yeah.
Because, facts, best case Ontario for big Mike Williams was Herbert. Yeah, 100%. And now you're panicked and now you're willing to move on. No, like be fluent. If Mike Williams was making or breaking your championship run, I think your roster had bigger problems anyway. But the one that I'm willing to get rid of, and we haven't talked about acquiring because we're going to talk about acquiring these guys too. The one I would get rid of is Chris Godwin because you have him down here as wide receiver 15. I'm going to go ahead and pull him up on the Forbidden site.
I think he's still
just so I can see where he was. We're going to look. Chris Godwin, wide receiver 14. So he's moved up. Crazy to me. Insane. I would trade him away right now. I would get that wide receiver 15 value. Go and get his teammate, Keenan Allen. Or not his teammate. What am I talking about? Oh my gosh. I totally forgot what I was talking about. But go and
teammate.
Right. I was thinking about Mike Williams. I'm sorry. I'm so fixated on how bad he is. But if you look at Chris Godwin is just what Keenan Allen is, or what Keenan Allen is what Chris Godwin wants to be. There, I got it out. It's what he wants to be. So why wouldn't you trade Chris Godwin, free agent, blown ACL, for Keenan Allen and a first round pick?
Chris Godwin for Keenan Allen and then flip two other pieces. Do a value swap somewhere else. So you move up a tier at one position where you're happy with these guys in the same tier for yourself. So
that's there's so many different options that you can have in that, right? And this is, like I said, I just based that off of what they have down at Keep Trade Cut. But you can go Keenan Allen, and apparently you can get more than just Keenan Allen for Chris Godwin. And I think you should be doing that. I really do, because Godwin's best case scenario was, in my opinion, with Tom Brady in that offense. Jacob, FF_RTDB, did a great job of explaining. I think it was in a thread on his Twitter account or in the Bulletproof Discord. Hit him up. You get to the facts that the Bucks passed at a rate that was just absolutely insane, obscene to other teams. And that really helped boost his value. Obviously, having who he was, they either needed the one-of-a-kind Jameis Winston, right, doing what he did in 2019, or Tom Brady. I don't think there's another scenario where you get that much passing volume with that much efficiency to be as good as he is, even though we love him, to come back off of an ACL. He's going to be, 26 years old?
Yeah.
Just trade him for Keenan Allen plus while you can. That's my favorite.
Yeah. And I think the other opportunity we've got with Chris Godwin is that if you trade him to a building team, the free agent part of it's not that relevant because they're not really banking on him for this year. Oh God, Dave, quackers! You're familiar with quackers, Tom? I assume.
Yes.
They are, in fact, the cutest, happiest little buggers.
That's
to
why
see
they're
one
on
in real
there.
life. Yeah,
That's why they're on there.
quackers.
I think I would actually die if I saw one in real life.
A little sad note about quackers is because they're only really on one island off the coast of WA, right? So Rottnest Island. Used to have English tourists come over and play what they called quacker soccer.
I would kill those sons of bitches.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Are you
come to our
kidding?
country just because it rhymes. You don't even call it soccer in England. Anyway,
Oh my
just a little
God.
point of contention.
I
Love
hope
little bastards.
all of you made them go mysteriously missing off the coast.
Yeah, there's
Unfucking
heaps of great whites off the coast of WA. Just push them in the water.
Yep.
Anyway, this little point.
God, people are the fucking worst.
Fucking worst. Yeah.
Anyway. I can never tell Erin that. She might actually become an activist for PETA or something.
Yeah, she go and live on Rottnest.
Yep.
Live amongst the quackers. Yeah, but I agree with you, right? So Chris Godwin, sending him away to a team who's building, they're not concerned about the free agency. They know that he's a good wide receiver. He's young. He fits their build profile. They've got Keenan Allen, who's turning 30, who they don't like for their age group. Easy. Perfect situation. Trade makes sense. Value's fine for them. But in theory, you're making more production for your team. You're adding assets and value, which we always love. And that is an ideal situation for someone like Chris Godwin.
Yep, I agree. Let's talk about acquiring these guys, Tom Lee.
Mm.
We got about a good 8 minutes left. Let's talk about acquiring some of these, and we're going to do it the way that we always love doing. I'm going to give you a player name, and you're going to tell me what it would take. Right? So we're going to play a bit of the trade game. I want to go. Let's start with Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson and 110.
So I'm acquiring Allen Robinson and 110.
No, I'm asking you. Sorry, I'm going to change this up again because my brain doesn't work all the time. Allen Robinson, I am going to rattle off a couple of things. You're going to say yes or no. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to go back to this way because I can't speak correctly. Allen Robinson or 110?
110.
Allen Robinson and 203.
Right now, before any of the draft stuff?
Right now.
Is there a right answer to this? Let's say Allen Robinson. Why not?
Okay.
Allen
Robinson. Allen Robinson and 203 or Hunter Renfrow?
Allen Robinson or Hunter Renfrow?
Allen Robinson and 203 or Hunter Renfrow?
Oh, okay. Robinson 203. Yeah.
Really?
Renfrow's
okay, because I would take Renfrow, I think, in a PPR format.
Yeah, Renfrow's
which
fun.
We only talk about Superflex and PPR. That's all we talk about.
Yeah.
I think I would take Renfrow at an A-Rob and 203.
I don't mind that.
I don't
mind that though.
I think McDaniels, and I know coach speak, but if you go and look, Hunter Renfrow is.
It's a very easy line to draw, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Wes Welker and Edelman,
and he's a good wide receiver. Like he's always been a very nasty.
Very good.
Yeah.
So I think I'm taking him. Okay. Let's go with another name on the list, Devontae Adams, also scheduled to be an unrestricted free agent for now, even though we don't think it's going to happen.
Yes.
I'm going to say Devontae Adams or 105.
Adams.
Okay, Devontae Adams, 108, and DJ Moore.
108 DJ Moore.
Okay, Devontae Adams, 110, and Keenan Allen.
Same age.
Uh-huh.
Because this fits the profile of what we like to do, right?
Exactly.
The only question for me is how far down from Devontae Adams to Keenan Allen is it? So in ADP it's 12 spots. Production-wise, Keenan's not going to have the ceiling that Adams has. I'm intrigued. I'd probably look at the Keenan 110 side.
Okay,
like that.
so that's the line. I want to do one more just for kicks, just because
we're going to throw these up after this pod, though.
We are. Exactly. Yeah. I'm interested to hear this one. Do you want Devontae Adams or Elijah Moore in the 108?
Elijah Moore's a tough one for me, right?
Exactly. That's why I wanted to know.
I love the talent. I hate the team. And everything says you should go Elijah Moore in the pick, right?
Yeah.
Everything says it. Young, explosive, the next whatever player comp you want to do. The Jets have ruined my football. If Billy only started watching 2 years ago, whatever the hell he was doing, The Jets have always just been shithouse the
Why
entire
is
time
Billy
I've ever known
catching
about
a
NFL.
stray? Why
Right?
is Billy
Yeah, no,
catching a
sorry,
stray
Billy.
bullet here?
Yeah.
Duck Billy!
Duck. Yeah, go Elijah Moore and the 108.
I'm taking Adams here for sure.
Yeah, because I in my head I'm like, can I move Elijah Moore to one of the guys who loves him, and then you know what I mean, I can flip that to a player that I like better. That for me is interesting. Yeah.
Okay, look, we talked about Chris Godwin before. We're going to talk about him again. Do we want Chris Godwin or Darnell Mooney and 106?
Really, that question is Chris Godwin or the 106 in my head.
Hey, Mooney
No
is
offense to
ranked.
Darnell Mooney. Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm using KTC right now because it's easy. Wide receiver 28, so it's not like it's
so when we talk
crazy.
about downgrading and adding production, the irony would be that Mooney here is not the piece we're downgrading to, even though they're the same position. He is the production being added, or the value being added. Because for me, Chris Godwin for the 105. I mean, if you're going to lose a year of Chris Godwin, probably Mooney in the 105 at the moment.
Okay.
Like I'm really not all that into Godwin
Interesting.
at the moment.
Okay, so that's a good line.
Yeah.
That's a good line. I just want to ask one more: Chase Claypool or the 107?
107.
Okay, I just want to ask because Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney are like back to back in that same
Really?
spot.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where I wanted to know
yeah.
because Darnell Mooney is climbing right now. So I was wondering if that would be your line. I kind of thought it would be the line. Okay,
If
so
it's
we're
Chase
gonna
Claypool
go.
in the 107, then I'm oh sorry, on the 105. I mean,
This one should be really easy: Cordero Patterson or a bag of balls.
What type of balls, Tom? Bouncy balls?
Let's go footy balls. Let's go footy.
No, excited. Give me the bag. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fact,
he's
just
on.
give me
He's
one
on here.
ball.
But
Give me
yeah,
one.
just
Just give me
one.
one Duke. Just an NFL
Just
ball.
one?
And I'll trade you all of my Corderos.
You have him on the list. Is he even worth like a 4th round pick to you? Like, would you even entertain? Like, just for comedic sake, what would it take for you to acquire? Like, 10 fab, like a 4th round pick.
Yeah, look, I did put him on the list for a bit of fun because he was in the
I figured
article
you
of
did.
the big name free agents. I was like, oh, okay. But wide receiver 55, there's a few names around that wide receiver 55 mark who are far more interesting than Cordero. But yeah, a 4th. I mean, if you think that he can return to Atlanta because they're not going to do anything, he might give you some usable games. So a 4th I'm fine with, but you're not looking to acquire Cordero. If you can send him for a 3rd, do it all day. But otherwise, yeah, it's not that interesting of an asset. It's just interesting that he made any lists at all.
See, and I loved acquiring. Oh my gosh, I totally blanked. Cordero Patterson. I loved acquiring him in season to help you get to the playoffs.
Yep.
Right. I think that's a totally fine situation. I think I traded a lot of late 2nd round picks for him because he was helping me while people were injured and whatever. But I mean, you're stuck with him at this point. No one's gonna actually reach out. You gotta wait. If he re-signs with Atlanta, I'm 4th round pick interested.
Sure.
Pretty much anywhere else I want out, I think for sure. That's kind of all I got for right now, Tom Lee. We're almost right at an hour. We're gonna hit this out properly. So final thoughts and let's help us get out of here.
Well, the one thing that we missed out on last week, and it's no offense to Chase because he was incredible filling in, but he brought no slang to the table, right? And I was kind of disappointed. I wanted something, whether it was American or whatever it was, but I wanted a little bit from Chase when it came to the slang.
Well, he did give us the dose score, so I mean that's kind of slang, which is the dump off containment efficiency measurement.
Go and check that out if you haven't already, by the way. Yeah. That's But no, I promised you a few weeks ago that we'd talk about one of two things, and we talked about arseholes or erections, right? And you voted for arseholes.
I voted for assholes.
So I gave you arseholes. Yeah. And then what would happen is last week, we're building up. Everyone wants to hear about erections in Australia, of course. Why not?
Oh my God.
It's a topic of contention. And we missed out. Here I am lying in bed with a headache and all I want to do is to talk to Tom about erections. We're modern.
We're going to need our budgie smugglers for this, I think.
Exactly. Right. And budgie smugglers links in perfectly with this. So when it comes to erection slang, we'll start with the opposite. All right. And this would be something, you call it like whiskey dick or whatever in the US or in Canada.
Yep, 100%.
The old brewer's droop is what we roll with.
A brewer's droop. Oh my
bit of a beer droop.
Writing this down.
we then moved to asking your mate. I don't know why you'd ask your mate about this, but what's the angle of the dangle? All right. What is the angle of the dangle?
I know. Angle of the dangle.
Yep.
How's it hanging?
Cool. How's it hanging? How's it hanging sort of merged into literally asking how someone is, but angle of the dangle is where it started. And then we get into the fun ones. So classically in Australia.
Very odd sentence there, Dave.
Yeah. Classically we move into the OG, the stiffy, right?
Oh yeah, we know that one.
Yeah, so Stiffy's classic, and it often becomes the nickname for someone who's got Cock in their last name. So we had an AFL player called something John Cock, and he became Stiffy John Cock to everyone. That was just his name.
God.
Universally, he was just known as Stiffy.
So
very much more of a nickname.
Dick Rogers would be Stiff Rogers. Yeah.
Stiffy Rogers. Those are the sort of things. But then we get to a few fun ones, right? So we get to the old half-open pocket knife.
Oh my God.
That's pretty common. Then the last two for me are the real fun. So number one is cracker fat, right? Cracker fat.
What the fuck?
And again, it comes from sort of chub. You guys all know about chubs, chubbies.
Oh
whatever.
my God. I mean, how many Nick Chubb jokes are there?
Exactly right. So this is, cracking a fat. And the last one for me is nursing a half or a full mongrel. You're nursing a full mongrel. Jesus. And, holy
fuck. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, Dave added one in, third leg.
Yeah.
Right. Would you call someone a prick?
So
how would you call someone a prick then?
Would you call someone a prick?
Yeah.
You don't really call someone a prick.
I need a context.
Out of all of these, I mean, you're only really talking about yourself here in reflection with any of these. Or storytelling. You wouldn't really call anyone a stiffy. Like I said, it's more of a nickname. And again, it's probably not late enough over there to roll into what we would call people.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I mean, it's not really used over here. A lot of penis stuff's not used as an insult. I think it's just so unanimous with culture and just sitting down and talking shit and cracks fat or having a piss fat. That's a classic one. Need a pee so bad you got a piss fat.
Oh my God. Just nothing but the top tier information that you need.
So I'll come back, and again, if you want requests with this, stuff you want to know about, like you said, if you want to know about how to insult someone in Australia, anything you want in your leagues, this is what I'm looking for now. It's requests and shout-outs, because there's heaps of stuff we can go into. But it's just building towards, I want it to be functional. I want this to start infiltrating its way through the fantasy space. So if you have a request, you want to know how to insult someone in a way they have no idea what you're talking about, please tweet us, please send it through, start looking for requests. What do you want to hear about from the Australian point of view? Because, trust me. Yeah, that's where the real fun's at.
I'm Fig Jam. Trust me. 100%. Taking the piss. That's right. We're taking the piss out of the serious content that is out there. You got to have a laugh at the same time. And look, I'll say the same thing that I say all the time. And maybe you're like, Tom, we get it. It's fucking boring. I don't care. I'm going to keep saying it because it'll never not be important to me. Take care of yourselves. Mentally, physically, emotionally, take care of yourself. It's important. Be kind to everyone. Don't be a giant dirtbag. Don't be a human pile of garbage. Check on your loved ones and your friends. Remember that clear eyes and full hearts can never lose, and that your best days are spent right here. They're spent tilting. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.
I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody instead of a bum.